Alright, so hello you people, how you all doing? It's been a little while, it's been about a week since we've seen each other last time, and I've decided to separate out these videos a bit more because I realized that not a lot of people are actually able to stay with me on these videos, and since there's still a ton of things we have to cover, I figured, hey, let's just separate it out a bit more so I can get a bit more content out of this. One thing you'll definitely notice is that my style of editing videos has changed slightly. I started editing them again to get a bit more quality out of them, so that's that. And there is a lot of effort being made to make these videos a lot more quality with a lot more examples. So if you end up following this tutorial series, I'm hoping that with this new style that I'm about to introduce to you, we're going to be able to digest the information a bit quicker. So in today's video, we're going to talk about operators. Again, from last time, the code for the basic website is still the same. The only thing that has changed is this script source, which says 3-operators.js. And if you decide to open the file right now, it's empty. For you in the GitHub repository, it's going to be filled up. So that's that. And let's get into it, shall we? So what are actually operators? Well, operators are pretty much ways of like doing basic calculations in JavaScript. So for example, we can assign two values to two variables and then add them together. The way you would do this, this is like even basics of arithmetic, which is the next topic we're going to talk about in next week's video. So how do you go about adding two numbers together? Well, first off, you have to have some variables. So we're going to define the keyword variable, and we're going to create a x variable. The x variable will contain the number, let's do 3, and then we're going to have another one. If I can give a small tidbit, you may have noticed in some of my videos I write them out on line by line basis, but to make it a bit easier, we're going to write them out in a single line. So y will be, I don't know, let's do I don't want to do 3 again. Let's do 4. So we now have these two numbers, but now we have to put them together. And this is what I like doing. It's not the best practice by any means, but it's a better way of separating things so you guys can see everything a bit easier. So now I create another variable. This time it will be z or z, depending on from which part of the world you are. And here we're going to do the addition. We're going to add them together. To do this, it's actually really simple. You just do x plus y. That's it. That's how you add them together. And even though we have this written out, if I refresh this page, nothing's gonna change. So to make it change into the things we wanna change them into, we're going to do a bit more magic here. So what we're going to do, we're going to type in document dot get element by ID. We're going to add these parentheses, and in here we're going to say which elements we want to change. If you look back into the HTML code, you'll notice we have the text and result. So we're going to change the text to a equation. So we're going to type in text. Then we're going to type in dot and say inner HTML. As you can see, since VS Code or Code OSS, these two are the same, with the main difference being that Code OSS is a open source implementation of VS Code that's a bit more open per se. So we just say inner HTML, then we'll add the equal sign, and here comes the magic. So here we're going to actually write out what we want to write inside of it. And since it's a paragraph, we can actually either write out numbers or we can write out strings. So to make it easier for ourselves, I'm going to show you a different method. You could make it a bit simpler just by writing it out by hand, but let me show you what I mean. So we can say that we have x, which is 3, then we can say plus, and then y, which is 4, and that's how you would write it if you did not know what you were doing. But on this channel we pretty much know what we're doing, so we're not gonna do any of this. These are beginner and rookie mistakes, so we're going to remove it, and I'm going to show a better way to make it change dynamically, so you don't have to do as much work. So in order to make this work, we're going to have to make some changes. I added 2 plus signs on both of these sides. Watch what I'm going to do. Here I'm going to type in X, here I'm going to type in Y. So what we've done here is we've changed it so that it can change dynamically. So if I save this and reload this page, you'll notice it changed to 3 plus 4. Let's actually separate them a little so that it looks a bit nicer. So now we have 3 plus 4 over here, and I don't think you guys can see it properly, so let me zoom in. You can see we now have 3 plus 4. And it's changing dynamically. So if I were to change this to, I don't know, 1 for example, I changed only the 1 in the first place, and boom, it's changed over here as well. But we do not want that, we want that sweet number 3 in there. So let's add back that sweet number 3. Oops, and I accidentally removed the equal sign. Great. There we go. So with this we actually have our whoopsies. With this we have our actually prepared section for showing which of the what basically the problem is that we're trying to solve. And what we can do is we can print out the result. So again, you would type in document dot get element by ID, and this time, oops, oh yeah, I was doing it right. Okay, cool. And then we do these, oops, these double quotes, and in here we'll type in results. That's what I think it is. So if you're not sure, you can again open the index.html file, and you notice you have the result ID here. So that's what you want to change it to. And we're going to say in HTML, and oops, and say equals, and now here is where the magic happens. You can do this in about 2 different ways. One thing I would recommend is have it as a separate thing. So for example, I have a variable z equals x plus y. So in the ideal world, you'll just type in z and that would be it. So if we do it like that and refresh it, you'll notice it says 7. So 3 plus 4 indeed is 7. And what you could do as well, if you want to do it in a different way, at least I think, so we can actually test it out. So we can do x plus y, but in a different way. We'll say x plus y, but if we do it this way, and we refresh it, you'll notice it does work still. It will add those 2 together, so in theory we would eliminate the z variable. But it's important to have it separate, because if we want to do subtraction, for example, we would have to change it in 2 different places, and that's not what we want. That's not ideal. So what we're going to do is we're going to in fact change it back to our favorite, oops, I accidentally removed it, to our favorite z variable, so that I can show you a few more things that we can do to make the reason why I decided to make it this way, essentially. So pretty much the way you assign variables values is with the equal sign. So that's assignment. If you want to add those 2 numbers together, you do addition this way. You can also multiply these numbers just by changing this to a multiplication. So let me show you something real quick. So if you want to do, let me actually do it in a different way. I'm going to copy all of this code. And what we want to do is I'm going to add in these. No. There we go. So I'm going to add. Did I delete it? Yep, I did. Okay, cool. This keyboard it's the new keyboard I made. I'm trying to get used to it, but it's real fun to type on. So we commented these lines out. That's what those 2 forward slashes do if you type them in front of it. So let's say you want to do multiplication. It's really easy. You just change this plus sign to, You just change this plus sign to the star to do multiplication. Oh, come on, buddy. Well, it's actually really simple to solve. Do it just like that, and oh, come on. So now that it has been solved, let's have the English keyboard on. So now it has been solved, we can save it, and what will happen? So what we did is we changed it to the multiplication sign. So if we refresh the page, you'll notice we have about 12 now, because it's, oh, and also one more thing, you want to change the plus sign here as well. So here's another tidbit actually. We can make another operator, sorry, not operator, a variable. But I wouldn't recommend that you do it this way. It's like super dumb. So if you want to change it real easily, just do this. And why did it switch again? Come on. And there we go, we've changed it to the star variable, and if we refresh the page, it says 3 times 4, which is indeed 12. So that's a way you can do also multiplication, and as you could guess, there are multiple things we can do. We can do subtraction, which would be with a minus sign. We can do division, which would be with a forward slash. We can do explanation. Explanation or exponents are done with the double stars. So to show you, explanation would be essentially, where does it switch though? Would be these 2 stars. This will be explanation if you are interested in knowing that. If you wanted to increment, you can do these 2 plus signs. If you wanted to decrement, therefore reduce it over time, you would do 2 minus signs. And if you wanted to do the division remainder, so you wanted to get the remainder of a division, you would just do the percent sign like so. Yeah, and I think that's like pretty much it. Also, there's one more thing I wanted to mention. So if we take the example I made over here, like all the way up here, I think I have it still copied, don't I? Yes, I do. So I'm going to add these 2 forward slashes here in front of each and every line. I wanted to show you one more thing before I leave. So give me a sec to edit it in. It's not easy to... So, wait, what did I just do? There we go. Okay, so I want to show you one more thing. So, let's say that you wanted to increase the, let's say we have just one variable. Say another alternative method here, and you wanted to, let's store the z variable in a different way. No, let's actually leave it like that, I think. Actually, no, let's just remove it. And let's say you wanted to, let's say you have a starting variable. For example, this x right here is equal to 3, and you wanted to increase it without having to write it down in a different fashion. Well, what I could have done is actually leave the y variable in it. I want to show you addition in a different way. So what we could do is we could say, let's add the y variable back. And let's say that that's 4, and now watch what happens. So what we're going to do here is we want to say x plus equals, so x plus equals, and then y. So what we did here essentially is, let me actually show you. I'm going to save it, I'm going to reload it. You'll notice it says now 7 plus 4 equals 7. So This is another way you could do it, but I wouldn't recommend doing it this way. Only do it if you're not printing out the the thing itself. If you wanted to solve it so that it doesn't print out in a totally screwed up way, you would have to change the order, because the order actually matters this time around. So if you wanted to, let's say, print out, so let's say you wanted to achieve the same result in the first section, you would save this, and once you reload it, you'll notice it works the same way. So why didn't it work the first time? Well, you see, in programming, generally code is executed line by line. So what happened before is it said 7 because we have these lines, and each line is an instruction. And let me see if I'm not rambling for too long. 15 minutes, that's good. And pretty much what's happening here is we are assigning the variables here in this section, and we're printing out the first, like the problem that we wanted to solve. Then we are adding them together with this new method, and then we are setting the result of the x variable as the result as the z variable. And all that we're doing is we're printing out the z variable. Now what I could have done instead is I could have removed this z variable thing entirely and changed this z to an x, and would do the same thing. You can also add strings together. So for example, you have, let me just copy this. You can also like add two strings together. This is the very last thing I'm doing today, so that it's not confusing for any of you. So let's say you want to add two strings together. It's actually really easy to do so. So you'll have a variable called text, so txt, and you will give it the equal sign. And to have it as a string, you would have to add these double quotes, and let's say this text does not make sense, for example. Then you would space it out, or you don't even have to do it here. And that's our variable. And what you can do, you can actually, let's actually print it out. So let's say we want to get this text thing as we had before. So we're going to copy it. So we're going to have separated it, and we're going to say txt. So watch what will happen. If I reload this, it will say this text does not make sense, and ignore this paragraph. And what you can do is we can actually say, txt plus, and we can chain them together like this. So if you wanted to chain them, you would have to do it like this. Does not make sense, and you would do then you'll do unless I add this. You can save it, and you can reload it, and watch what happens. It does not change. Why is that? Well, you see, you could in theory do that, but in order to make it work, because I get it, you would like to do it this way, you cannot do it this way. You will have to add an equal sign to make it work. So if we refresh it now, you can see this text does not make sense unless I add this. And to make it with proper punctuation, I would have to do it like this in order to make it work. So if I refresh it now, you can see we can add two strings together just like this. And that's pretty much all of it for today's video. As you can see, it's a bit shorter than it would regularly be, and I can spend a lot more time talking about this, but I'm trying to make these a lot simpler with a lot more better examples. So if you like this new style of videos, especially the coding ones, let me know. I'm going to edit this video now to add some music and make it a bit more interesting. So make sure to leave a like, subscribe, share it around, and I will see all of you guys in hopefully next week's video.